Hello and welcome again to another live sound stream here with Thanks for Sharing. I hope you're well and you're taking good care of yourselves. These are very challenging times with the COVID-19 virus. We're global now and so many places really in lockdown, in quarantine, and a lot of chaos in the hospitals and in physicians and doctor surgeries as well. So we need to be embracing this in these Thanks for Sharing program, and so what I wanted to do in this session is to give you an update essentially on how it's been for me this week, and also to then move into giving you some tips and techniques for what you can do with sounds to help yourselves and others around. If you spread the ideas, if you spread these techniques around, we will be able to help people, particularly in the early stages of infection, if people get infected. And if we can kind of nip it in the bud in the early stages, then it doesn't progress into this full-on pneumonia, basically, in the chests. And so, that's when it gets really awful and complicated. So we'll be diving into that. There'll also be an opportunity to get an update on our energy home with Rosha. So Rosha is here actually on Zoom, and so we'll just say a quick hi to Rosha, and then we'll come back to you. So hi Rosha, are you there? Can you?
Hi everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's all working great, isn't it? So
Yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm holding the space for our energy home really strongly.
Oh, great. So we'll come back to you in a little while, and you can give us an update on how it's emerging and where everyone kind of sits in that now. And and I know that we've had quite a few comments about the energy home from people over the past few days since last week, and a lot of people are really liking it. They're really liking this home, this energy home, and how it feels when they're in there, and the look and the feel of it, and and it's a wonderful thing to be doing. So thank you for that. We'll see you again in a little while.
Okay, see you later.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so if you haven't already done so, please say hi in the chat box, or in the comments box. I see there's a few there already, and so Louise is there. Say here, beaming with my sofa, having spent a couple of hours on the allotment today, communing with nature, giving veggie plants and seeds positive vibes. Spring is spring today. It really is, isn't it? I was outside as well, working on our small holding quite a lot today, so really enjoyed it with the sunshine here in Cornwall, and keeping up to date with things there in the garden. And then we've got a few people from Josephine in Australia saying hi, Kathy from Iowa in the USA, Kaibis from Northern California, Nina from Pennsylvania, Sasa, hey, love from Guernsey. Oh, that's lovely. That's an island just south of the British Isles. And Camila there from New Mexico, and Nina from Australia, and Anna from Alabama. Oh, wonderful. So it's really great that so many of you are joining us live here today. This is a sharing space, so please use this space to share with others as we go along. And there's a few more here. Rona's also saying she's coming from Queensland in Australia. Brilliant. Okay, so remember to use that for questions as we go along, as well as comments, and I'll pick them up and we'll see it. Last week it was all running a bit slow, so I've got a new hookup here with a direct line into the cable, and it's all working absolutely brilliant this week. So it's really quick and easy for me just to see what's going on now. And wow, fantastic! A few more people joining in: Tara and Travis, and somebody there in Hull, Leslie it looks like, and Kathy in Santa Cruz. Fantastic people from all over. I'm really grateful. Okay, so we want to do something of real value for you and others on this session, and so after a short talk, I'd like to get into and exploring the energy home, and then I'd like to get into actually starting to set things up for when we go live with target recipients. So we all need to get into a bit of training to do this together so that when we do go live next month in April, we all know what we're doing and we've done a bit of practice, and so we can start that today, getting into a bit of practice. So we'll get into that towards the end of this session. Okay, so I don't know how it's been for you, but I've had a lot of ups and downs, mixed feelings this week, sometimes feeling scared, frightened and confused and a bit down and isolated and all that, and other times feeling like, what's the problem? In a way, I know it's a big problem for a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but it's like my own sense of self is that sometimes, and right now, I'm actually feeling really good. I'm feeling alive and vibrant and no symptoms and, and taking care and looking after myself. And even though I'm much more kind of in retreat, you could say, at home. But isn't it just fantastic that we've got this facility here? Something came to me in the Christmas sort of New Year period when I was kind of checking in with myself and kind of asking the question, what's arising and what do I need to do? And it came to me that we needed to do this kind of thing, and actually get this studio up and running so that we could be running really good quality live sound streams, which I think these are. And wow, it's so fortuitous. And also I just feel so grateful to have this, to be able to do this and to be able to share it here with Mark, who's such a fantastic guy and is so competent, on the mixing and everything. And Rosha and so many people here, and all of you as well. So, what a wonderful thing. So I'm really grateful. And in many ways, I feel very blessed. I feel very blessed with, how my life is at the moment. So that's how it is for me. But one of the things that I've been doing is as I said last week, is I follow the medical doctor Dietrich Klinkhardt, and he did another talk this week, which maybe some of you have seen as well. But if you haven't, I'd just like to do a quick summary of some of the key salient points from that talk. And then also we'll be posting a link to it afterwards, and you can download the slides. There'll be a link to that as well. So you can dive in much more deeply into the kind of things he's saying. Okay, so you maybe have also read about the recent tweet that Mr. Trump kind of released just maybe yesterday or today, I can't remember exactly when it was, but he was saying something like, oh yeah, there's these 2 drugs that are out that is going to knock COVID-19 on the head. And in fact, in some ways, I think he's been quite brave and bold to be saying that, because it's actually spot on. And Dietrich Klinkhardt in his talk does mention this. In fact, he kind of actually starts the talk by saying, hey everyone, there's a cure now. Today, March the 17th, is Coronavirus Day, because today is the day when there's a paper being released that tells us that there is a cure. and so I've actually downloaded the paper now, which you can get, and if you want we can put the link up for that. And this is the paper written by a group of scientists in southern France who did a very small study of about 40 people. I think it was actually 42, some in a control group and some in this experimental group with these drugs. And then they kind of tracked their progress over 6 days, having taken the usual nasal kind of swabs and so on to identify whether the coronavirus was there. So all the people who were not in the control group and the experimental group had the identified coronavirus. They were all positive at that point. And so without beating about the bush, basically what they say at the end in the discussion is that on the basis of their evidence that they recommend, this is what they say, we recommend that COVID-19 patients be treated with these 2 drugs, hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, to cure their infection and to limit the transmission of the virus to other people in order to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the world. So they are really coming out and saying, these 2 drugs can be effective. And I think Mark's all set up to go to just show you a graph, which is on the back, it's like the final summary graph of this study, where what they actually show is, are we set to go with that, Mark? Yeah. So what it actually shows is that the top line there, the black line, if you can see it, is the control group. And it says that by day 6, some of the people had passed through with the symptoms and so on, and were kind of testing, negative. So about 12.5% of those, but it still meant that most people were still testing positive, and that if they brought in one of these drugs, which was the hydroxychloroquine, then it went down to about 70% were kind of no longer testing positive, so they were in a sense cured, and that was by day 6. But when they introduced this second one, the azithromycin, and so there was a combination of the two, then you can see there was this rapid drop down, so that by day 5, all the people, 100% of the people who'd taken those two drugs together were showing negative. All right, so they were no longer, positive with the COVID-19 virus. So that's what it's all about. And then of course the medical doctors, some medical doctors have quite rightly said that there are side effects of these drugs, even though they have been around for, in many cases, for decades. There are known side effects, so they are under prescription, and it's best to do this under medical supervision, because there's a danger that it can trigger heart arrhythmias, and therefore, and that itself could lead to death. So you need to be careful with this. But it's good news in some ways, I think. And so, this is the kind of thing that Dietrich Klinghardt is tracking. Now, what he's also talks about in this latest lecture, essentially, is that he mentions that there's an important part in the progression of this COVID-19 virus, which what he says is that what makes COVID-19 potentially lethal is the activation of the inflammasome triggering a dreaded cytokine storm. So that's when the real inflammation happens and you get the storm of essentially what leads to the pneumonia in the lungs, okay? And so, but there are certain things that can help to minimize the inflammasome, okay, or to reduce the activation of the inflammasome. Now, I'm not a medical doctor, and he describes the science and the biochemistry of this very well in his talk. So, I just encourage you to go there and get it from him, really. But the point is that he says there are 3 things that can really help. So one is vitamin C, and then some people say you should have zinc along with that as well. The second thing is melatonin, and the third thing is humming. All right? So let's just focus on the humming part, because he is actually talking about us going, Okay, so this is the sound healing technique that is actually beneficial. And what he refers to is a study that was carried out, actually, I think it was released in about 2002, which showed that humming has the effect of releasing nitric oxide, which has the effect of reducing the activation of the inflammasome, all right? And it has particularly a beneficial effect in the throat, which is where the vocal kind of cords are, as well as in the nasal passageways and the sinuses. And so what Dietrich himself said was that when he found out about this, like nearly 15 years ago, he kind of sent out a message to his patients at that time. And then within a month, he said he got about 200 messages back, maybe emails back from his patients, most of whom had been living with chronic sinusitis for 20 or 30 years. And they said things like, well, we started humming in this way in our car to work and back, and any quiet moment we can when we're on our own. And they said within a month, this chronic sinusitis had kind of disappeared, basically. And so he had personal evidence that this kind of works. And he's saying that, the science is here to show that humming is going to help with COVID-19, particularly in the early stages, because what happens is that in the early stages of infection, the virus sits in the mucous membranes, essentially, in the nasal passageways, in the sinuses, in the throat, and then it kind of goes down, below that if it's not stopped. So actually toning or humming into the head, into your nasal passageways and into your throat is going to really help to release nitric oxide, which helps to kind of knock it out from going any further. So it's really beneficial. But what's also really great about this is that if you've read the book by Jonathan and Andy Goldman, The Humming Effect, there's a chapter in here where that same study is also mentioned, but also what they talk about is how there are studies, and a book has actually been published, which shows that humming also activates the release of melatonin from the pineal gland. Okay, and of course, so Dietrich Klinghardt had said that there were these three things: vitamin C, melatonin, and then nitric oxide, which is activated by the humming. So the humming also activates the release of melatonin from the pineal gland. And so you've got this double effect happening from humming. So it's really powerful. It's a really effective natural form of vibrational medicine, essentially. So I'm really excited to share this with you. And I think that what we need to do is to just give a few minutes just now for us all to do a bit of humming together, so that we can activate the release of this nitric oxide in our nasal passageways and in our throat as well. And of course you can also hum down into your chest. So the thing is that what you can do is that you can play around with the pitches, so that, and you can even, I know we're not supposed to touch our face or touch our eyes and our nose and our mouths with our hands, but you can actually, especially if they're clean, you can put your fingers onto your kind of cheeks here, and then you can actually feel the vibration when you get the right pitch for your nasal passageways. Okay, and then you might want to go a higher pitch to get it up into your pineal gland, and then you could drop the pitch down into your throat, and then also down even further, just slightly lower into your chest. So you just want to get this whole sense of resonance happening in these places. All right, so let's do that. I'll just do it now with the monochord as well, and we can get into that. So remember, we're not singing. You don't need to feel too self-conscious about this. We're just humming, and we're doing this for a purpose. We're doing this to neutralize the effect of COVID-19 virus in ourselves. But we're doing this in a collective, shared healing field as well. And that's the intention we're setting right now. Okay? Okay. So I'm just going to feel in here, see what note's going to work for me today. That's working really well. So you want to keep that going if you can. So you want to just, we haven't got time to just spend too long on this just now, but obviously you could spend 5, 10, 15 minutes on this sort of thing, or, I suppose not many people are actually driving to work these days, but if you just find a space where you're comfortable to do that, it'd be really good. Okay, and then maybe you want to just kind of go up in pitch a little bit, up to get it up into your pineal gland. So you go hum, hum. Okay, so you could do that a few times. And then you can drop it down again into your throat. So it's and then even lower into your chest if you want. Okay, I mean, this might not sound that pretty or that beautiful or that, but you know, that's not the point. You know, the point is to get this vibrational hum going in these places because it's releasing the nitric oxide, and that's very beneficial, particularly for the throat, the nasal passageways, and the pineal gland for the melatonin as well. Okay. So that's really good. I mean, Andy and Jonathan Goldman do talk about the benefits of humming, which is actually quite relevant. So they talk about how doing this kind of thing can also help to, you know, help us to de-stress. It can help to lower blood pressure and also the heart rate, because sometimes it can get a bit high when we're really stressed. So, you know, it's a really great thing to be doing. Okay, so that's it on the technique there for now. I'm aware that, you know, we haven't got that much time, so we need to just keep moving forward with this. And okay, so what's the daily dose of humming that you recommend? As much as you can do. You know, I would say you should really do this twice a day at least, morning and evening, let's say, you know, at a time that's convenient to you. That would be really good. And if you can do, you know, 10 or 15 minutes, I think it would be fantastic. And but you know, it's the bit that counts. You know, it's that getting that vibration, and you can kind of just allow other tones to emerge here as well. You know, but just to stay with that sense of humming is really the important bit there. Thanks very much for making these comments and questions. Yeah, okay. Some problems here. An error occurred. People are saying, can we see Mark's face? Yeah, we're going to bring him in. Don't worry. He's going to come on in. Maybe next time we'll introduce Mark for you. And he's a wonderful guitar player as well. Yeah, so people saying thank you. Yeah, so there's this question from Morag here about using the 128 auto tuning fork. Okay, so what she's probably referring to there is that there have been studies, this work done by John Beaulieu, who's looked at the effect of spiking nitric oxide when you have a 128 weighted tuning fork and you place it on the body. In fact, the experiments was done, I think, with cells in Petri dish. So, you know, just to kind of really test it. And yes, it does show that weighted 128 on the body does also help with nitric oxide release. So you could also be putting these here as well, okay, and actually activating it even further there. So, you know, it's a bit more, doesn't go so well on the throat, but certainly around the sinuses it's really good for that. So thanks for that, Morag. Thanks for that reminder. So that's really good. So Jenny's saying, I keep getting an error occurred and being advised to try again later. Nothing has worked. Guess I'll just have to look forward to the replay. I'm not sure what's happening there. I mean, I do know that there's just so many people now online, and I guess that it depends on broadband and your server and all of that, you know. But I think hopefully for a lot of people this is going well. Just give us your feedback on that mostly. If people are, you know, finding that it's you know, it's working out. As Mark suggested, you can try refreshing the page. That's what I'm doing right now. And, you know, it seems to be working fine at my end. This little blue, purple chat box seems to be great. And we're getting messages in here. Yeah. Okay, so let's now come back to Rosha and the Energy Home update. So we'll just go back over to Zoom again. And hi, Rosha, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh. It's looking like you've got a great setup there behind you, the drums and And
Well,
you,
I've actually just finished 4-day workshop, level 1 sound healing.
oh, great.
So
Okay.
I'm in the studio where we hold the workshop. So
Fantastic.
this is what we had drums this afternoon. So
Aha, that's
this
what's going
morning
on.
actually.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
today. Yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Mm.
So it went well, did it? The
It was
workshop?
great,
Yeah, I
fantastic,
bet it
and
did.
everyone was so happy to be in a sort of like a retreat space, really,
Yeah,
away from
yeah,
the
yeah.
rest of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's really great about your setup is that because you kind of, you and your colleague, you've hired the premises, so you
Mm,
control essentially whether it's open or not.
that's
A
right.
lot of people running workshops, whether they're yoga practitioners or sound practitioners or sound healing, teachers with us, the venues are just closing down.
Mm.
But it sounds like you've made the decision just to keep it open, at least for this workshop anyway, and that's great.
Yes,
Yeah,
well, certainly, and everybody who booked came.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they were all,
yeah,
they were all. There's only one person that emailed me to say, "Is it, should I come? Should I come?" And I said, "Make the choice that makes you feel good."
yeah.
And she
That's the one, isn't
and
it?
she came,
Yeah.
and she felt wonderful by then.
Oh, that's so
So
good.
her
That is so
face
good.
was all smooth by the end of the
Oh, great. Hey, I could do with a
course.
bit of that. Yeah. Anyway, tell us about the Energy Home, how it's evolving, and what's new this week.
Okay, so so you'll know that it's a sphere made of this lovely heart energy, which I see as a deep rose pink quartz color.
Yeah.
But and I actually know that I know that others of you have been in there because I went there one day and I thought, oh, it's green, and so I thought there must be lots of people seeing it as green. And then that was today I went there as well, and it was blue. So
Oh,
some people
okay.
are seeing it as blue. So
Yeah.
that's really, it's great. Actually, it's really delightful, and I can tell that lots of people have been there because it's so much stronger than it
Right.
was
It's great.
before, and it actually makes it a lot easier for me to hold that energy because you're all holding it as well, which is fantastic.
Hmm.
So if you want to know the beginnings of it, have a look at last
Yeah.
week's, and I'll update you on this. So the a core group of people
Hmm.
um, is around at the same level as the sort of fattest part of that circle. So that's where Tony is in the middle on that axis, right in the very center of that. And Mark's up the top or the desk is up the top, and I'm on the edge of just inside the edge. So I've got that lovely thing at my back. And
Yeah.
so the other core group are around that,
Mm.
the edge of that sphere at the
Mm.
same level as Tony and I.
Mm.
So, and down the bottom there, or not down the bottom, but about a quarter or a third the way up. So I'm kind of a bit looking down on it. I can see that there's this big, broad platform of a figure of 8 that goes
Yeah.
like that. So that, and it appears that that's where everyone is. Most people have their grounding in that figure of 8 because it's the
Mm.
power of 8, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's the guides of the power of 8 who've actually created that. I invited them to come in, and that's what they did. And so there's it's about that platform is really wide and big, so it can be maybe 3 or 4 people deep comfortably. So you could be
Mm.
there, but you can be up from that, so that
Mhm.
you can be anywhere on that figure of 8 and at any height above that figure of
Ah,
8.
yeah,
So
I get it. Just
it's
filling
your
the
choice.
space. Yeah.
Yes, it's your
Yeah.
choice, and it's all made of heart energy, and you have your own personal connection
Mhm.
to that figure of 8. So
Mhm.
it's like you're in this kind of
Mm.
pillar of your own, going
Mhm.
down to the or coming up from.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a better way of saying it, isn't it? Coming
Yeah,
up
yeah.
from the figure of 8.
Yeah.
And so there could be people in front of you and behind you and next to you,
Mm. Great.
around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all made of heart energy. So where you are, where your heart is a lovely big bubble, or your big sphere, your own personal sphere of heart energy. That's, and for me, of course, it's that deep rose pink color. But it can be anything, whatever suits you. So and so you're all interlinked, because those spheres, each person's sphere, is touching. So you can reach out and you can touch each other with that. And it's all energy, of course, but you can be there in your own imagination.
Yeah.
And if that's the way you work, and if it's just if it's an energy thing, then you can see it as energy. It's up to each individual person. But you're all really connected, and it almost makes it almost makes how can I explain it? A sort of so there's the platform that's like that, and so where people are is sort of somewhere on that figure of 8, all the way around, and it's kind of like it's three-dimensional, the figure of 8. It goes up and around, as well as having this platform. And that's where everybody is in this, somewhere, wherever you feel that there's the right place for you, in that three-dimensional area.
Okay.
And it's almost solidly heart energy, because because you've got your own personal pillar of heart energy, and you've got a bigger sort of sphere of your heart, and that's really touching and embracing with other people.
Wow, it's fantastic. Yeah. And I think what you were saying to me when we touched base during the week is that you can actually, you're extending an invitation essentially to anyone, all of us, just to kind of
course,
to go there, to be in there,
That's
to be there whenever we want.
Yeah. So you asked me, how do you go there?
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's no door. So I suggest that the best way to get there, if you like, is to sit quietly for a minute or two and just breathe. Be aware of the breath in your nostrils and coming down the back of your throat, and following the line of that breath, and right down to your heart center. And you can imagine that in any way you like, so that you can activate your heart center. And you can put your hand on your heart if that helps. And Tony last week, he suggested a couple of ways where you can you can help to activate your heart center. So you can activate your heart center, and then you just imagine yourself there.
Great.
And it might be hard at first, but just do it a little bit, and next time it'll be easier, and then the next time after that it'll be even easier.
Okay. So what you've done there is great, because you've said that if you're choosing to be, an intender, as we call it, then you're connected up. You're kind of anchored in a sense through this pillar onto the figure of 8, this three-dimensional figure of 8. But if you're also wanting to be in the core group, then you're kind of, you're in this separate sort of plane around the edge.
The core group is supporting everyone else.
Great. Okay.
So yes, they are kind of they're not actually on the figure of 8 themselves.
Okay. So the other thing that maybe we need to allow to start to emerge from now onwards is for the person who is the target recipient of the week is where are they going to be? and in a way that's because we're going to move into that a bit more now, because I think we probably need to come off the Zoom in a minute and kind of I know you're staying with us, but start to explore that role of what do we do when we are the target recipient of the week, and then how does everyone support that person? And of course, all of that's going to be happening in the energy home as well. So
the person, the target recipient, they're on that central
Mm-hmm.
the very center, that at the very center of that figure of eight, where the
Yeah.
two
Oh, great. Yeah,
noughts
where they
meet,
kind
if
of
you
meet.
like.
Yeah, yeah, like that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So and they're right there in the very center.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, perfect. That makes sense. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Thank you for that. All right. So thanks, Rosha. We'll come back and say, bye at the end and all that. But that's a really great update. I'm really grateful and thank you for
Can I
sharing that.
invite you all to go there
Let's
and
all go
enjoy?
there.
Oh, the first time I went there, it was fantastic. When everyone I knew, people had been holding it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's when and it was just such a lovely place to be.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was just, so
yeah,
peaceful. It was really
yeah,
nice because I
yeah,
was feeling a bit stressed out,
yeah,
and I did it before I went to sleep, which
yeah.
is a great time for it.
Hmm.
And I woke up feeling really peaceful as
Oh,
well.
that's a really great tip. So it's actually really helpful for people to go there, isn't it? That's the point. It's not just
Very
like
much so.
an exercise or something. It's a really beneficial thing to do at this time.
Yes, it's there. It's there all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and I'll be reinforcing it, and so will the core group of people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you can visit anytime.
yeah, great. Thanks a lot. See you again in a bit. Okay, so let's come back to this then. So what I'm going to be doing is to be putting this very short paper up for you to download. I do want to say thank you to everyone who has who has already completed and filled in these various forms. So people who filled in the self-assessment form, for example, at the beginning of this program. Thank you to you. People who've sent in the form saying where you want to be in this process, so whether you want to be in an intenders group, whether you want to be in the intender and a target recipient, whether you want to be in the core group. Thank you for all of those forms and people who've left messages about that as well. We are going to pull all this together at the start of April, and so we'll get back to you then to kind of confirm exactly where you are in this. And I haven't actually got round to maybe replying to some of you already in person yet, but we will get on to that in a few days. Okay, so there'll be this briefing sheet that we'll make available to you, and this is for the people who want to become a target recipient. Okay, so and I think it's useful that even if you're not going to be a target recipient, what we're suggesting that people do when they are the target recipient, and that's what this kind of very short kind of briefing note actually covers. Okay, so what we're saying is that it would be really good when you're the target recipient if you're able to do some sharing, essentially, about what it is the current concern that you've got, what is your current state of wellness or otherwise, and so that we've got a bit of a backdrop to that. And there are various ways that we can do this. I mean, one way, if you want to and if you're willing, but there's no pressure, you don't have to, is that we could do a kind of like either a live Zoom call, like you could join a live Zoom call and kind of just talk about this, and you can see that we can we can bring Zoom into this live stream very easily, and you could just be a participant there, not just, but you would be a participant there, and we would see you and you would be sharing in this way, and I think that would be fantastic if you could do that. But I know some people are not comfortable about that, particularly if you're sharing something quite deeply, and so you could be sharing it by a text message, and I could read it out, for example. We could have things like that. But there might also be images that you want to send in of photographs of yourself, sort of representing you, or other aspects of representing you in wellness and that as well. But you also want to be sharing, anything that might be holding you back from realize the full wholeness of your being. So these are the kind of things that you'd want to be sharing. And then you want to have a clear statement of intent for healing, change, transformation, whatever it is for you. And so that would be in a written form. And then there would also be a short description of a visualization, as if this healing, change and transformation has already happened. Okay? And so what would then happen in the live stream is that you'd have a chance for that to be introduced either personally, say on a Zoom call, or I can do it with the images and so on. And Mark would facilitate that, would have it all coming up on the screen there. And then we would then go into this kind of 10-minute sort of guided, focused, intentional healing field that we would all be holding. And there'd be a core group there who'd be on the Zoom as well, and then everybody else there, in this intentional field. And we'd do that in a focused way for 10 minutes. That's what Lynn McTaggart recommends, that we just do it for 10 minutes. And what we'd be doing then is I'd be guiding this, we'd be holding the intentional statement in our mind and also the visualization of as if this change transformation has already occurred. And so all I wanted to say is that we've started doing this as more of an in-person group here in Loswithiel in Cornwall, where we live, and Mark is also a member of that group, and I am. And so we've been doing this for a few weeks now, and just doing exactly this. And in fact, last week we didn't even meet in person because the venue's closed down due to the COVID-19 virus. So we're actually meeting on Zoom now, making it all happen there. But it's still working, and people are reporting some great results as a result of it. So this stuff, I think, really works. This process really works. And I just encourage you for yourselves, right? Over the next week, this is like part of the training, is for you personally, is just to get clear, okay, about these things. The sheet will be there, but if you could get things just to kind of really get clear. What is your current state of wellness? And this might be being affected mentally, emotionally, physically with what's going on around COVID-19. But what's your current state of wellness? What is it that concerns you? What might you be holding you back from realizing the full wholeness of your being? And then what would be your statement of intent? So just a short phrase, as if it's already happened, okay? And then how do you visualize that? And then what I encourage you to do is to do this toning, this humming practice while you're holding that intention, the intentional statement, and while you're holding that visualization, do this humming, because this is going to be really beneficial at this point in time. And that's the sound element that is activating everything. All right? So that's the kind of the technique that I'd really really suggest and recommend that you get into this over the next week. And then, when we come back next week, tell us how it's been. You can share here. You don't even have to kind of wait. You can just share your experiences, in the comments box here. All right. So I'm aware, we're kind of going over the half hour again. Let's hope that some people are still here. Some people saying, hi, Rosha, and thank you for describing the energy space. So how do I send a comment? This is Joy from the purple box. A note flashes up to log in or sign in, but disappears when I try to click on it. Yeah, Joy, I remember you had this kind of problem before. I'm not sure what's going on there. When I did it earlier, I got the option to just kind of join in. I can't remember what the terminology was there, but just as a kind of almost like a guest. And I just typed in Tony and then I just clicked go. So it seems to work for me and maybe others. And so I don't really know what to recommend. Maybe Mark's got some suggestions and he might come back to you on that. And we might just make a comment here later on. So Virginia is saying all is working out well from Switzerland. Thanks for the humming advice. And Vienna, everything sounds good and clear here. That's good. Elisa, thanks for letting us know. Jane there from Melbourne. Humming reminder, yeah, we got that earlier. Okay. So that's all good. So if you've got any questions, please ask them here. Thomas saying great contribution, mentioning the beneficial self-healing approach these days. Yeah, he's sending a C528 hertz to all people out there. That's often the solfeggio frequency for love and miracles and healing. So thanks for that, Thomas. Great. Okay, so So hopefully you've got that. I will be. Someone said, "What about the links?" Yeah. I'll post them after this. Okay, so you'll get the links, after this. We'll post it on the page here, so you'll be able to get that after this talk, after this live stream. Okay, so other people saying level 2 is amazing, by the way. Oh, great, thanks Nina, thanks for saying that. It is a great course, isn't it? It's really good. So humming's going to be the practice. That's really good. Okay, so lots of people saying they're going to join in this week. Fantastic. So that's it. That's the suggestion for this week. So let us know how you get on, and then we'll come back. We've got another session, one more in March, I think it is. I'm just going to check the dates here. I think the idea is we come back on March the 29th, which is next Sunday in the UK, and then we've got it scheduled. There will be a couple of weeks break from the live streams and then start again on April the 19th. Okay, now we're going to be doing things in those 2 weeks, not like we're going on holiday or anything. We're going to be doing things in those 2 weeks. We're going to be firming up exactly who's going to be the target recipients, who's going to be in the core group, and we'll be kind of working with those people just to kind of get the program worked out and get everyone kind of working together. Okay, so thank you again for viewing us, for being here, if you're here live or if you're just watching us in a recording. Thanks very much for your time and energy here. And thank you to Rosha for holding the space this time, as always, and for the lovely energy that you bring and that you're helping to create there in the energy home. So thank you. I guess she's just saying bye as well.
Bye everyone.
See you next week. And sorry.
Enjoy the home.
Enjoy the home. Yeah, it's completely free of any viruses there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's good. Okay, so do take care over the next week and beyond, and be safe and be well. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks very much for joining again. Bye for now.